Lately, it seems more and more like gaming has transformed into this Goliath machine with inseparable parts. It might seem like the dream of an artist to have a huge company footing the bill, but that backing also comes with a lot of restrictions creatives need to deal with. When working in a specialized field, there's nothing quite as annoying as having the guy paying the bill coming in and telling you how to do your job simply because his name is on the checks. Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome. Lately, when industry insiders talk about the problems facing the games industry as a whole, it actually, ironically, seems like one big game of pass the buck. Publishers blame developers for lackluster products, and developers blame publishers for lack of resources and tight deadlines. But at the end of the day, it seems that gamers are the ones left holding the bag more often than not. Lately, it seems more and more like gaming has transformed into this Goliath machine with inseparable parts, and without the funding, marketing expertise, distribution, and legal assistance offered by publishers, most games wouldn't even see the light of day. But the more of these stories that I cover, the more it seems like it's a miracle that any games get produced, considering the sometimes ridiculous and almost impossible expectations that publishers put on developers. Not to mention the overtly hostile actions they often take against fans of their products. But to tell you the truth, the worst offenders seem to be the biggest players in the game, such as EA, Sony, and Nintendo, because the best games that I've played in recent times have been created by small development teams working in tandem with smaller publishers. And even though these larger companies might provide developers with more access to resources and even a larger potential audience through their marketing, it doesn't seem like it's worth it at the end of the day, and their success is much more artificial compared to these smaller companies. But before we get into it, guys, do me a solid and hit that like button if you like this video, subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future, and also take to the comments section down below with your thoughts on the gaming industry and its relationship with these massive publishers. Also, since I don't have a massive sugar daddy company telling me what to make and how to make it, if you want to support this channel further, there are super thanks and memberships options down below. Feel free to join the channel for access to exclusive content and perks that you can't get anywhere else. Either way, your views are greatly appreciated. But without any further ado, let's get into today's article. And today we find ourselves back over at Games Radar with an article entitled, EA Gives You Just Enough Rope to Hang Yourself. BioWare co-founder says working for a big game company just ain't it, even if it was actually a pretty successful run for Mass Effect. A lot of artists dislike working for big companies, and BioWare's co-founder Greg Zeschuk explained why in a less than glowing assessment of EA. Quote, I like to comment that EA gives you enough rope to hang yourself, Zeschuk says in an interview with Eurogamer. And what I mean by that is you have to learn to work within the structure. It might seem like the dream of an artist to have a huge company footing the bill, but that backing also comes with a lot of restrictions creatives need to deal with. Quote, I think we did quite well. If you look at the Mass Effect trilogy that came out of there, says Zeschuk, it was actually a pretty successful run. But you have to understand how to work within a big company. And, for me, that was the end. It was like, oh, I don't like big companies. So I knew by year 2 that I was going to leave at some point. I just didn't know when. It seems that BioWare actually enjoyed reasonable freedom within EA, though. Quote, there's all kinds of shenanigans we did, Zeschuk admits. Some BioWare devs made games for Facebook under a fake company name, and when EA spotted, quote, a couple of Apple development devices and we weren't in the mobile division, they were like, what are you doing? I suppose when you make a series as successful as Mass Effect, you're given a longer leash, but EA isn't the only big company BioWare worked with. Zeschuk shared another story about a time Microsoft gave, quote, the worst advice, absolute moronic advice from them, the stupidest thing ever. The advice was to release Jade Empire on the original Xbox in 2005, just before the Xbox 360 came out. Quote, Microsoft was like, no, you should release it now, right at the end of the cycle, because it's a great time. Now, Zeshik makes craft beer. He must be happier being away from all the big companies, especially considering that EA just laid off a lot of BioWare devs, and WB Games shut down Monolith and canceled the Wonder Woman game. It's not a great time for big game companies. It's genuinely not a surprise to see that all of the problems plaguing the game industry nowadays are directly tied back to the publishers. When working in a specialized field, there's nothing quite as annoying as having the guy paying the bill coming in and telling you how to do your job simply because his name is on the checks. And a lot of times when publishers push games out of the door before developers are ready, it's less of an exercise in managerial discipline and more of an attempt at a quick cash grab to recoup costs. And as a developer, your hand is in their purse while their hand is on the strings. So a lot of times you end up wrestling for creative control over these projects from the very same people who are funding it and making it possible in the first place. Part of the reason why we see so much copy-paste live service slop nowadays is not just because of lazy, underqualified devs, although that is the case sometimes, but it's also because publishers are trying to recreate the financial success of their competitors. When companies are trying to recreate the success of something like Fortnite or Overwatch, sometimes, very rarely, you end up with a product like Marvel Rivals. But most of the time, you end up with a product like Concord. When your ability to take creative risks with your project is directly limited by the guy paying the bills, you end up seeing more of the same. Just like we covered in my last video on the subject, concerns about creativity or innovation are on the absolute bottom of the list of concerns from the investors, if they're even there at all. Their primary concern is and always will be profitability, and the way to maintain profits is by not upsetting the normies. As long as these companies are able to churn out a steady stream of low-effort, superficial crap for minimum effort and maximum profit, that's going to be their strategy moving forward. If they need to cannibalize smaller companies or throw fully realized games into the bin simply for a tax write-off to maintain their bottom line, they certainly will. If they have to strip their games of any thoughtful narrative devices or philosophically significant questions and replace it with bottom-tier, low-IQ propaganda, that's what they're going to do. Because at the end of the day, the bottom line for these companies is often the lowest common denominator. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched up to this point. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the content that I've got coming up for you guys in the future. Also, take to the comment section down below with your thoughts on this issue. All of the comments, likes, and views really do go a long way, and I spend entirely too much time refreshing my YouTube studio page just to keep track of all of these videos. So I really appreciate each and every one of you for your support. Of course, by now, you know as well as I do that there's always more to talk about, so as always, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, and until next time, love you guys, safe travels.